Hi, I'm Jason from Gall Sewing and Vacuum Centers, and I'm here to talk to you today about long arm quilters. Many people love to quilt, and in the past they felt like maybe they couldn't do the long arm portion of that project. But yet we're here today to tell you that you can do it. They can fit in any size home. And so to do that, we're going to start talking about the frames, the machines, and then of course stitch regulation, which all of you want. So if we look at the frames for a second, this is a frame that in the past everyone thought you had to have 10 to 15 feet available, and it would cost $10,000. This long arm right here is a 5-foot frame. It can quilt any size quilt because it's a clamp frame. So we have several models of it. They range between 4 and 5 feet, and they can quilt a king size quilt because what happens is you quilt it in sections. So you're able to clamp your quilt, you're able to quilt that section, move it, and continue on. And so that's a nice way for someone that says, I only have 4 feet, 5 feet that I can designate to a quilter. You can still quilt your own quilts. Now if you have more room, it is a little bit easier when you have a frame like this. Now we have this set up as a showroom size. This frame goes 4 foot, 8 foot, 10 foot, 12 foot, 14 foot, whatever size quilt you want to make, you set this frame up. If you have the space, the advantage of this type of a frame is that you roll the quilt, you quilt it as you go, and it's a finished product. You're not having to unclamp it and move it. So it's certainly a little bit easier, but again, if you only have the space, that's a great starter system. If you have space for this type of a quilter here, you're able to now decide what size you're going to do quilts. You set it up that size, and now you can quilt the entire thing. So picking your frame is going to be your first choice on space. After that comes the machine. So we have anything from a small 9-inch arm machine, like a home machine that you can put on a frame like that and quilt your own quilts. That particular style frame, you can actually put your home machine that you have now on it and do your own quilting for just a few $100s. But should you want a larger machine, then you take a step. The first machine that we recommend on a frame like this is going to be a 15-inch. So 15, 16-inch, like there's a 16-inch model right there that you can see. That's about the starter long arm machine that you can go to. And so when you think about the size, when we talk about inches, so 15, 16, 18, 20, they go all the way up from there. But it's from the needle to the inside throat of the machine. That's what's going to determine how large you want it. And of course, the type of quilting you do will help determine which machine is going to be right for you. If I'm just free motion quilting, I can't reach 26 inches. So if I'm just going to free motion, maybe I don't need a 26-inch machine. But if you're going to go computerized, well, now having a 26-inch machine means I could make several passes on my quilt before I advance it, which saves you time and it's easier then to work with. So you just pick the machine that is going to be right for the type of quilting you do, and that's why we carry, a dozen different models, sizes, and variations to help you pick the machine that's right for you. So once you've determined the frame, and now you've determined the machine, one of the last things that's really important to look at on your long arm quilter is the stitch regulator. And so the stitch regulator is something that as your machine moves front to back and side to side, there's generally speaking an encoder. And the encoder is what's going to track your movement. Now, various machines on the market will use optical encoders or cameras to track movement. Others use wheels that track the thread, and that depending on the amount of thread that it uses, it adjusts the machine speed. But in general, the most popular stitch regulation system is going to be encoders. And so with this encoder system, it's going to then move front to back on the machine side and left and right on the carriage side. So it's important that those encoders track properly. And so there's different quality of encoders. So as you're comparing machines and frames, you also want to look at that because the stitch regulation is an integral part of the machine and how well it's going to function for you. So the stitch regulator, making sure that it's spring loaded, it's engaged, that it's really tracking well. And you can tell when you sew on the machine because when you start and stop the machine, you will see the stitches start and stop in the corners, out of the corners. So perhaps you have a very basic model with a stitch regulator. You come into that point and you might pack an extra couple stitches in. You come out of that point, you have a little longer stitch. So the precision of the encoders is something you really want to consider as you're doing your investigation of a long arm. Again, any questions, call us at Gall Sewing and Vac or see us at gallsewingvac.com.